Extra vertebrae. Most people have 5 lumbar vertebrae in their lower back, but some lucky individuals have a bonus sixth one. This extra vertebrae, called L6, sits right where your spine transitions from your lower back to your tailbone. You're now flexible enough you can almost reach places most people only dream of, if you know what I mean. That's because the extra vertebrae gives you increased range of motion in your lumbar spine, which means better flexibility for activities like gymnastics, dancing, or just reaching that thing you drop behind the couch without throwing out your back. Doctors sometimes discover this during routine x-rays, and patients are often surprised to learn they've been walking around with bonus spine parts their entire lives. It's usually completely harmless, though occasionally it can cause some lower back pain. This spinal bonus round occurs in about 4 to 7% of the population, making it more common than you'd think, but rare enough to make you feel special if you've got one. Retractile testicles. Here's a mutation that sounds way more dramatic than it actually is. Now, retractile testicles is not the name of a new X-rated transformer, but actually a built-in security system for men's most precious cargo. Instead of hanging out in the usual spot, one or both testicles can retract back up into the inguinal canal when things get dicey out in the real world. This happens because of an overactive cremaster muscle, which is basically the body's big buff bouncer for your meat mandarins. When it senses cold, physical activity, or any kind of threat, it yanks those boys back up to safety. The evolutionary advantage here is pretty obvious: better protection during physical activity or combat. While other guys worry about taking a hit to the family jewels, yours come with an emergency exit strategy. Most of the time, retractile testicles will come back down on their own once the perceived threat is over. They're just playing safe until the coast is clear. Now, this condition affects roughly 1 to 2% of adult men, though it's more common in children and it often goes away as you get older. Voluntary eardrum moving. Some people can make their eardrums rumble on command, creating a low-frequency brown noise that sounds like distant thunder or a motorcycle idling inside your skull. This happens because you have voluntary control over your tensor tympani muscle, which normally contracts automatically to protect your eardrums from loud sounds. When you flex this muscle, it creates that distinctive rumbling sound that drowns out external noise. It's kind of like having built-in noise-canceling systems, except instead of expensive headphones, you just use that tiny muscle in your ear. You can use this superpower to block out annoying sounds or zone out during conversations you don't really want to be a part of. The rumbling sound you create is typically around 20 to 30 Hz, which is right at the lower edge of human hearing. It's the same frequency range as earthquake vibrations, which kind of explains why it feels so deep and rumbly. The ability is found in roughly 15 to 20% of the population, making it uncommon enough that most people have no idea what you're talking about when you mention ear rumbling, but common enough that you're not some complete medical freak. Third nipple. Some people just have an extra nipple. Darwin's tubercle. Charles Darwin noticed that some people have a small bump on the outer edge of their ear, and in a classic scientist move, he named it after himself. This little bump is a leftover from our evolutionary past, back when our ancestors had pointed ears like elves or cats. Most people's ears evolved to be completely smooth and rounded, but yours kept a little souvenir from the good old days in Middle-earth. Having Darwin's tubercle is, unfortunately, pretty useless in terms of cool powers to impress your friends with, but it does make your ears slightly better at funneling sound, giving you slightly better hearing in certain frequencies. This evolutionary leftover appears in about 10 to 15% of the population, with some variation between different ethnicities. Webbed fingers. Welcome to the Frog Club, big boy. Your DNA just decided to give you an aquatic upgrade. Having webbed fingers makes you faster in the water than someone wearing actual swimming fins. The extra surface area acts like built-in paddles, giving you more propulsion with each stroke or kick. It's like having permanent swimming gear that you can't lose at the bottom of the pool. The webbing is usually partial, connecting just the base of your fingers rather than going all the way to the tips. This means you still have the full finger dexterity, but with bonus swimming abilities. The most common form is webbed second and third toes, which occurs in about 1 in 2,500 births. Webbed fingers are less common, happening in roughly 1 in 3,000 births. Hypermobility. Hypermobility is like having joints made of rubber. Though you probably won't be able to tie yourself into a human pretzel, you do have a greater range of motion than most people. This happens because your body produces slightly different collagen, making your connective tissues more elastic and stretchy. While everyone else's joints have normal flexibility limits, yours got the deluxe package. Having hypermobile joints means you can do things that seem impossible to regular humans. You can bend your thumb back to touch your wrist, hyperextend your elbows backwards, or put your leg behind your head without breaking anything. A lot of monster actors in Hollywood are double jointed. That's why they can pull off those inhuman looking walks that would blow out a regular person's knees in probably 2 seconds. Hypermobility affects roughly 10 to 15% of children and about 5% of adults, as joint flexibility typically decreases with age. So if you're still bendy as an adult, you're part of an increasingly exclusive club. There's probably some other things hypermobile people can get up to, but let's leave it at that. Tetrachromacy. Most people see the world in 3 primary colors, but some individuals have a 4th type of color receptor in their eyes. That allows them to see millions more colors than the rest of us, basically getting HDR, but in real life. Normal human vision relies on the 3 types of cone cells that detect red, green, and blue light. Tetrachromats have an additional cone cell that's sensitive to different wavelengths, usually somewhere between red and green. This extra cone allows them to distinguish between colors that look identical to everyone else. If you have tetrachromacy, you might look at what others call red and see dozens of different distinct shades. You can pick out subtle shifts between colors that have slightly different wavelengths, making you basically a human color detecting machine. The weird part is that most tetrachromats don't realize they see colors differently until they're tested. They just assume everyone can see the subtle differences that they notice. The practical uses of this are pretty slim outside of interior design, but a solid flex when you go into a paint store and get to school the sales assistant on the difference between sunset blush and warm coral. This condition is almost exclusively found in women because the genes for color vision are actually located on the X chromosome. Since women have 2 X chromosomes, they can potentially inherit different color vision genes from each parent. Tetrachromacy is estimated to occur in about 12% of women, though many cases actually go undiagnosed because there's really no obvious way to tell you see more colors unless you're specifically tested for it. Thickened Achilles tendon and enlarged calves. Some people won the genetic lottery for explosive leg power. Having thicker Achilles tendons and naturally enlarged calf muscles would make most professional sprinters cry with envy. The Achilles tendon is like a rubber band that stores and releases energy when you walk, run, or jump. A thicker tendon can store more energy and release it more efficiently, giving you extra spring in your step with every single step. This can especially be helpful in sports where every bit of power is a big deal. Enlarged calf muscles work in conjunction with the thick Achilles tendon to create a powerful propulsion system. Your calves act like biological pistons, and when combined with that extra thick tendon, they can generate a lot more force than normal legs. This combination makes you naturally gifted at any activity requiring explosive leg power. You can jump higher, sprint faster, and accelerate more quickly than people with standard issue legs. People with this genetic advantage are often better at sports like basketball, track and field, or any activity where jumping and sprinting matters a lot. They're the ones who seem to float in the air a little longer than physics should allow them to, or people who can outrun others who look like they should be faster. This natural leg upgrade occurs in roughly 2 to 5% of the population, with some variations based on genetics. If you've got the thick tendons and swole calves combo, you're basically running around on a biological performance enhancement that's completely legal in all sports. So, are you a mutated freak or just a standard human? Let me know in the comments. And if you really enjoyed the video, you're going to love this next one where we explain every state of mind.